including Memphis rappers Pooh Shiesty and Big 30, are facing federal charges for allegedly kidnapping and robbing rapper Gucci Mane. About a raid at a Cordova home that belongs to Pooh Shiesty's dad.
At exactly 6:00 in the morning, while the world was still half asleep and pretending everything was normal, a quiet street in Cordova turned into a federal crime scene. And what unfolded behind that front door wasn't just an arrest. It was the moment a family's entire reality cracked open at the same time from two different directions. Because here's the part nobody can ignore. While FBI agents were dragging a father out in handcuffs in Tennessee, his son, already under federal watch, was being taken down in another state, tied to the same explosive case, the same accusation, the same story that suddenly didn't look like success. Anymore, it looked like something far darker hiding beneath it. And standing in the middle of that collapse was a mother, Glattis Baines, watching everything she built emotionally, everything she believed had finally stabilized, vanish in real time. The question is, how did it get this far, this fast, after everything that already happened? Because let's not rewrite history. This wasn't just any name. Pooh Shiesty wasn't just another rapper floating through the industry noise. He was the one Memphis pushed forward, the one the streets stamped, the one the industry co-signed. When Shiesty season hit, it didn't just chart, it announced something. It said this was next. This was different. And when that co-sign came from Gucci Mane himself, it wasn't just validation, it was elevation. A direct pipeline from the trenches to the top tier. But here's where the story starts twisting in ways that don't feel accidental, because the same man who helped lift him up would later become the center of the most shocking allegation in this entire case. And that's where things start to feel uncomfortable, because success didn't just stop, it got interrupted. By 2022, the same rising star was sitting in federal prison, tied to gun conspiracy charges, watching his momentum freeze while the system closed in. 5 years was on the table. Reality hit hard. But then, unexpectedly, he got out early. October 2025. A comeback moment. Cameras flashing, fans celebrating, social media exploding like the comeback story had already been written. And maybe that's what made everything that followed feel even more unreal. Because within just months, everything flipped again. Because what prosecutors are now saying doesn't sound like a mistake, it sounds like a plan, a coordinated one. And that's where the timeline starts tightening like a noose. January 10th, 2026, Dallas, Texas. A studio session that wasn't really a studio session, a meeting that wasn't really a negotiation. And the deeper you go into what allegedly happened inside that room, the more it starts to feel like something was already decided long before anyone walked through that door. But wait, pause for a second and really think about the setup. A rapper fresh out of federal prison, still under strict supervision, wearing an ankle monitor, restricted movement, being watched. And somehow, according to federal documents, he ends up traveling, coordinating, assembling a group, including his own father, and walking into a situation that prosecutors are calling an armed takeover. Not a misunderstanding, not a heated argument, a takeover. That word alone changes everything. And here's where it gets even heavier, because this wasn't random. The meeting was arranged directly with Gucci Mane, the same man who kept him signed while he was locked up, the same man who didn't cut him off when others were getting dropped. That detail alone feels like a contradiction. Why target the one person who didn't abandon you? Why escalate to that level instead of walking away or handling it legally? That's the part nobody can comfortably explain, and it keeps raising the same question over and over again. Was this frustration, ego, pressure, or something deeper that had been building quietly behind the scenes? According to what's laid out, that meeting quickly turned into something else entirely. Inside that studio, tension didn't just rise, it snapped. Contracts weren't discussed, they were demanded. And when that demand was refused, everything allegedly shifted into a moment that changed every person involved forever. Weapons drawn, pressure applied, fear taking over the room. And suddenly, what was supposed to be business became something that the federal government now describes in the most serious terms possible. And outside that room, it wasn't calm either. Other individuals allegedly controlling the exits, making sure nobody moved, nobody escaped, nobody interrupted what was happening inside. Think about that. Think about how fast a normal situation can turn into something irreversible. because once that line is crossed, there's no pulling it back. And according to investigators, by the time it was over, it wasn't just about a contract anymore. It had turned into robbery, into intimidation, into something far bigger than anyone could downplay. And here's the part that makes it even more unreal. They didn't disappear quietly. They didn't move like people trying to avoid attention. Within hours, social media started lighting up, jewelry flashing, evidence practically being handed to the public in real time. It's almost like nobody believed how closely they were already being watched. Or maybe they just didn't care. Either way, the damage was already done. Because while all of this was unfolding publicly, behind the scenes, something much colder was happening. Data, tracking, evidence stacking up piece by piece. The ankle monitor didn't forget. The cameras didn't blink. The records didn't lie. And by the time April 1st came around, the federal government wasn't guessing anymore. They were executing. And that brings us right back to that morning, that door, that moment Glattis Baines had no control over. Because while the world debates, speculates, and picks sides, she was the one standing there when everything connected. Son, father. Same case, same collapse. No warning that it would end like this again. And if you think the arrests were the climax, then you're missing the most unsettling part of this entire story. Because what came after wasn't noise, it was silence. A kind of silence that doesn't calm anything down, it makes everything feel heavier. Because while the internet exploded into debates, accusations, loyalty tests, and moral arguments, the one person at the center of the emotional fallout didn't give the world what it expected. No interviews, no breakdown on camera, no dramatic defense, just a few posts. Short, controlled, almost distant. And somehow, that silence said more than any statement ever could. Because while everyone else was arguing about street codes and cooperation, about whether Gucci Mane did the right thing or not, Glattis Baines was posting words that didn't even mention the case. Faith, prayer, strength. That's it. No denial, no explanation. Just, there is power in the name of Jesus. And you have to sit with that for a second. Because what does a mother say when both the father of her child and her son are taken in the same case, on the same morning, tied to something this serious? What words even exist for that kind of moment? Maybe none. Maybe silence is the only thing left when everything else feels pointless. But the internet didn't stay silent. It never does. The moment documents revealed that Radrick Davis, Gucci Mane, cooperated with investigators, the conversation split instantly into two worlds. One side saying he was a victim, that cooperation was obvious, expected, necessary. The other side questioning everything, bringing up history, reputation, identity, and whether certain lines should ever be crossed no matter what the situation is. And just like that, the focus shifted from what happened inside that Dallas studio to what it meant afterward. And then came the voices adding fuel to that divide. 50 Cent stepped in, briefly, but it didn't take long for his words to ripple across the culture. A post questioning how someone with Gucci's past could end up cooperating in a federal case. It didn't stay up, but it didn't need to. Screenshots don't disappear, and once that seed was planted, the conversation couldn't be controlled anymore. It spread, it twisted, it turned into something bigger than facts. It became about perception. And that's where the real weight of this situation settles in. Because for Pooh Shiesty, Lantrell Williams Sr., this wasn't just another legal problem. This was supposed to be the second chance. The rare one. The kind most people never get after federal prison. He came home to opportunity still waiting for him. Fans still ready. Industry doors not fully closed. And now, everything hangs on what happens next in a courtroom. Because if the outcome goes the way prosecutors are pushing, this isn't a pause. This is the end of the road. For his father, Lantrell Williams Sr., the story cuts even deeper in a different way. Because being present in your son's life is one thing. Being pulled into the same federal case as him is something else entirely. Allegations of renting cars, printing documents, being part of that movement to Dallas, it transforms the narrative from support to involvement. And once that shift happens, there's no separating the two anymore. They're tied together in a way that no family ever expects. And then there's Big 30, a name that wasn't supposed to be part of this kind of headline. No prior record, according to his legal team. A career that was building independently, momentum that didn't rely on controversy, and yet loyalty, being in the wrong place with the wrong situation at the wrong time, can rewrite everything. Because now his future isn't about music anymore. It's about court dates, legal strategies, and waiting on decisions that could define the rest of his life. And hovering over all of it is Gucci Mane, carrying a different kind kind of weight. Not the weight of charges, but the weight of what happened to him, and the backlash that followed how he responded. Because no matter which side people choose, no matter how they justify it, that moment inside that studio changed his story too. It added something permanent, something that doesn't fade when the headlines move on. But through all of that, through the arguments, the evidence, the accusations, the speculation, one image stays the same: a mother, not speaking, not explaining, just watching, waiting, posting quiet messages that feel like they're meant for something bigger than the internet. Because maybe she already understands something everyone else is still arguing about, that once things reach this level, there are no winners left, just consequences that keep unfolding. And that's what makes this story linger in a way that doesn't sit comfortably, because it doesn't feel finished. Court dates haven't even played out, outcomes haven't been decided, and yet, lives are already changed in ways that can't be reversed. The fame, the music, the attention, it all feels distant compared to what's actually at stake now. So the real question isn't just what happened in that studio, it's what happens next. Because if everything we've seen so far is only the beginning, then whatever comes out in that courtroom might not just reshape careers, it might redefine everything we thought we understood about this story. And until that moment arrives, the silence from Memphis, the debates online, and the weight of those federal charges will keep hanging there, unresolved, unfinished, and impossible to ignore.